Now, from News Channel 8, this is Good Morning Washington.
Time right now is 9:42, and coming up, we are getting salty in the kitchen with a savory tasting tour from Chef Amy Riolo. She joins us coming up next. Stay with us.
All right, welcome back to Good Morning Washington. Salt can sometimes get a bad rap, but when used properly, it can amplify the most basic of dishes and add very good addition to our health as well.
That's right. Well, here to take us on a tour of standout salts is author and chef Amy Riolo. Welcome, Amy. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you so much for having me again, Eileen and Kit. It's great to see you.
We always learn so much when you're here. Last time it was about olive oils and how many different olive oils there are, and there's lots of different salts as well, and people may not know that.
Exactly. Well, these are just a few. So the ones we're going to taste today are an unrefined sea salt, and then we're going to taste a French gray salt from Brittany. We're going to talk about baby dill, which is full of wonderful mineral salts, and then we've got a Sicilian salt with orange zest in it and some fleur de sel. So each of these dishes have a different salt, and I can tell you a little bit about each of them. So this is our regular sea salt that we have. This is just an unfiltered sea salt. It's one that hasn't had any processing done to it, and an unprocessed one, unrefined. And they're wonderful because you can use that as a swap out. It still has some of the mineral salts in it. It has a little bit less sodium than regular salt. Great flavor. None of the caking agents or the bleaching agents that the regular table salt has. So people want to
now, I
swap
have
out.
sea salt in the kitchen, but it's thinner than that. Is it just that ground up?
That's fine, yeah. So there's three things that make the difference between salts. One is where they come from, the other one is how they're processed, and the third thing is how they're ground. So you can use a finer one, it helps to melt really evenly in things, or I like a coarser one, but you can use whatever you want, or both.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to ask is, you hear a lot of studies saying, excess sodium is so bad for you. Talk to us a little bit about the actual health benefits of salt.
Oh, that's a great point, Eileen. So it's true, sodium can, if we have in too much, it can be harmful, but actually we need it. It's required for our body. It helps with our brain function and our nerve function, so we would die without sodium. So not all sodium is bad, but too much of a good thing can get us into trouble. So people who are over 50, people with diabetes, people who have heart issues or high blood pressure have to be careful of the intake. They recommend that we have about 4 grams or less of total sodium intake in the United States, and that's including all sodium. So be careful because processed foods are full of sodium. So it's not just the salt you add, it's processed food. But by getting some of these different types of salt, they have the minerals still left in them, like the gray salt here from Brittany that I used in my French focaccia bread. This has a lot of magnesium and iron still left in it, and they've found correlations where if you have magnesium and potassium in your diet, it will lessen the effects of the salt and actually regulate blood pressure levels.
So you'd be able to taste the difference if I would have used sea salt or that salt in here?
Definitely. This gray salt is great in those classic French dishes that have lamb or beef, and cheeses are really good. And then here's a surprise for you. This is not salt at all. It's baby dill. I like to tell my students and my readers, baby dill has a lot of mineral salts in it, antioxidants, so they taste salty. They give you that salty taste, but with no added sodium. So I use them here in mashed potatoes, lemon juice, lemon zest, olive oil, and the baby dill. No salt at all. And to me, these taste better than even the classic version. There's no salt, no cream, no butter. They're delicious, they're healthy, and very vibrant. And then over here from Sicily, we have a salt from Trapani, which is off the western coast of Sicily. Very important since ancient times with salt and importation and things like that. They're wonderful for their production of salt. This one has orange zest added in it. So it's a wonderful flavor. You can even smell the aroma. And I've used that in my mussels because I love the flavor of orange with seafood. Orange and really helps salmon, shrimp, any seafood the flavors just sing when you add orange. Everybody thinks about lemon, but orange is nice. And then over here we have fleur de sel, or the flower of salt, or in Italian we call it fior di sale, which is actually the finest. It's called like the cream of the crop in terms of salt, because what happens when they make sea salt, they put it in these big bins, and then they have to evaporate the water. Whatever goes to the bottom is the regular sea salt, like this guy, and they take that out, and then every now and then some of the little particles float to the top, and they form these beautiful flower-like crystal patterns. They have to be hand raked, left out to dry, and then used. So they're very few and far between, and they have to be hand cultivated. So this is the most expensive of all, and this is just for finishing. So I was going to say,
most importantly, we want to know how that brings in the brownies to the conversation.
Have a sample here.
And we are out of time, but where can people go to find more information about all the stuff you talked about here today? Get your cookbooks and find out about all the
Sure, they can go to my website, amyriolo.com. I also have a YouTube channel. So that
salt does make a difference.
Right? It kind of plays against the cloying sweetness of the caramel and brings it to life. I'm glad you like it.
Amy, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Still ahead on Good Morning Washington, America's tall...